Hey guys, today is Monday, October 19th. My name is Will, and these are my thoughts. So, uh, last night was kind of rough after getting to Game 7 of the NLCS, which was kind of a circuitous route in a number of different ways. The Dodgers ended up beating the Braves on a home run by Cody Bellinger, and they will advance to the World Series against the Tampa Bay Rays. And this was highly disappointing, mostly because I have been a Braves fan since I can remember knowing what sports were. Like, there's videos of me and my family in our house back in Birmingham. I'm probably 2, maybe 3 years old, and there's a Braves game on in the background. That would have been like the 98, 99 Braves, who were really good. And just digging into that for just a second, I have been lucky enough. I missed, obviously, because I wasn't alive, the 91, 92 back-to-back World Series appearances, Braves. And even, they won the World Series in 95, and I was 1 when that happened. So that whole era of peak Glavine, Maddox, Smoltz, young Chipper Jones, Fred McGriff, that whole group of players, that was a little bit before my time. I hate using that cliche, but it was a little bit before I really got to understand what was happening. I think my earliest coherent memory of the Braves in any kind of playoff position was probably 2001, them losing to the Diamondbacks in the NLCS, which in hindsight really isn't that bad of a loss. 5 games is kind of annoying, but that Diamondbacks team, especially their pitching staff, was just absolutely incredible. And then from there, I think probably the next big memory I have is the 2005 team that lost to the Astros in the NLDS. I can remember Game 5 of that series went to 18 innings, and Chris Burke hit a walk-off home run to end it for the Astros. And I remember I watched the first 13 innings, and I think it was on a Sunday. So I had to go to youth group that night, and so I ended up not seeing the last 4 or 5 innings of the game, even though it started at 2:30 or whatever. So from there, 2005 marked an end in an era for the Braves because they won 14 straight division titles, and from there things got significantly dicier. Anytime you're having to move from one generation to the next, it's going to be pretty painful. And it took the Braves 5-6 years to get back anywhere near playoff contention. And that would have been like the Dan Uggla, Justin Upton kind of Braves. So they weren't really at the same level as they had been. So if we're breaking this down into 3 different eras. We'll start with the biggest chunk, which is 91 to 2005, all the straight division titles. And then sort of the middle bit, which is transitioning from that group of players to 2014, 2015, when they started blowing it up and trading everybody on the team, to now. So, got first part, second part, current part. And while it was fun kind of to see the middle group, like I said, the Justin Upton, Dan Uggla, young Freddie Freeman kind of maturing into the player that he is now, Jair Jurgens, the guys that we couldn't have really expected to go super far into the playoffs. And then eventually that team got ripped apart and they rebuilt. I remember probably my second to last year at Alabama, getting all the notifications, trading Justin Upton, trading Craig Kimbrell. Pretty much anybody on the team that had any value was heading somewhere else. And now, 4 or 5 years later, we are seeing what the fruits of that fire sale have brought us. And it's a lot of the centerpieces of those trades are being worked into the daily lineup that the Braves start out there now. They made a lot of pretty good trades, and they made a lot of smart draft picks. Our 2 main starters through this whole playoff run were Max Fried, who was acquired in a trade during that whole last period. I think we got him for Kimbrell. And Ian Anderson, who we drafted a couple of years ago. What a lot of people thought was a stretch to pick him at 3 overall, but he has now turned into our second best pitcher behind Soroka, probably. And I say all that to just highlight how cool it has been to see all of the pieces that have gotten us to this point come together. So having followed guys like Ozzy Albies, who was like the first top prospect to work his way through to being in the starting lineup, and then Acuna, Dansby Swanson in the mix there. We got him in a trade for Shelby Miller. And then eventually now Pache and Drew Waters, maybe once he starts coming up and getting worked into the fold. Like, we're finally seeing what commitment to a strategy and just a commitment to player development, what the fruits of that can actually be. So, and even in loss last night, the Braves had 9 guys in the starting lineup and then a pitcher, and 5 of those guys are 23 or younger. And with that in mind, like, it's always incredibly disappointing to lose any series, but especially a series where you had a 3-1 lead. But I think there's a very easy argument to make in favor of the Braves overachieving significantly to get to that point. And like, they gave the Dodgers everything they could handle. That's without Mike Soroka, who I pretty much consensus is the ace of this staff. Without Cole Hamels, who got injured, without Felix Hernandez, who opted out of the season, and then without Tommy Milone, who we traded for at the deadline, and then he immediately got hurt. So for an undermanned, underexperienced team, I think we did pretty well. Like, Cody Bellinger, the guy who hit the home run for the Dodgers to clinch in the series, reigning NL MVP, hits 6th for them. And there's nothing against Dansby Swanson, but like, there's a significant gap between those two lineups if those are your 2 6th-place hitters. And I think probably the most annoying part about all this is perpetuating the stereotype about Atlanta sports teams, which is fair, but one of the things that I like to say about stereotypes is that they're true until they aren't. Especially in sports, you're just one really good draft pick or a good trade or just a team getting hot away from breaking conventional wisdom about them. See, the Nationals a year ago. No way they can win a World Series without Bryce Harper. Well, it actually turns out that good pitching and momentum are both pretty powerful. So I think we have a lot to be hopeful about. It's obviously extremely annoying to lose in that fashion, but the Braves have an extremely solid roster, and I think we have a lot to look forward to this offseason as well. There's a lot of questions about who the Braves might trade for or bring in, and I think if you're Alex Anthopoulos, you have to be looking across the landscape of baseball, and aside from the Dodgers, who are the team we just lost to, thinking like, I don't know how many teams are better than what we've got right now. And if there were a time to just push all of your chips at the middle of the table, I think it might be now. So yes, I am extremely sad that the Braves lost, but I think next year could be really great. And also maybe the next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, if we play our cards right. Here's hoping that that's actually what happens and it doesn't all just fall apart. I'm Will, those are my thoughts, and I'll see you guys next Monday.